You want to start farming but have no land? You've come to the right place. In this video I'll show you how you can make a normal full-time income farming without owning any land. Welcome back to another episode of writing and talking about how we can improve agriculture with regenerative farming. Today I'll show you a simple farm system that requires almost no land ownership and can make you around 60,000 euros annually. It might sound crazy, but let me break it down step by step. So, what will we be farming? We'll be breeding goats. They are the key to making this system work. Why? Because they solve our no land problem. A lot of people these days own some land that either came with their house or was passed down through generations. But many of them don't have the time to farm it or even maintain it. At the same time, most of them also don't want their beautiful pastures and fields to become overgrown with bushes and trees. I see the same situation in my village. Almost everyone owns at least some land, but most of my neighbors no longer farm because they inherited the land but moved into more modern industries like most people these days. So they are working their 9-to-5 jobs with no time to manage their land, while at the same time not wanting their fields to become overgrown. And that's where we come in. Maybe we don't own as much land or any at all, but we have a solution for them. Our goats will keep their fields and pastures clean by eating brush, weeds and grass. It becomes a win-win situation for both sides. And goats are perfect for this job because they are not picky eaters. They will eat almost anything green and many things that aren't. Now, it's not as easy as just shaking hands with your neighbors and suddenly making 60,000 a year. Let me show you the simplest system to actually maintain enough goats to make a good living. The first problem, and this might not apply everywhere, is paperwork. In my country, Slovenia, if you have a registered farm, you can't just graze goats on somebody else's land without permission. You need signed agreements allowing you to graze there. My point is simple. Make sure all the paperwork is legal and organized so you don't run into problems later. So how many goats will you actually need? To make around 60,000 per year, you would need roughly 130 goats. Now that may sound like a lot, and it definitely isn't a small number, but remember, this is a full-time business that can provide a full-time income if done correctly. So what will you actually be doing with those goats? You'll mainly be producing goat cheese and goat jerky, because those products usually have some of the highest profit margins in most markets. Now, you probably have a lot of questions. How are you supposed to milk 130 goats every day on pastures that may not even be close to your house? Don't worry, I'll explain everything step by step. First, secure grazing land from your neighbors. Then, don't immediately go and buy 130 goats. Start with 60 goats or fewer so you can test the market and gain experience with milking, cheese production, herd management before you go all in. The initial 60 goats will cost around 12 to 15,000 euros and you should expect another 15,000 euros for equipment. You will also need a decent sized space for storing milk, processing cheese and aging it properly. Assuming you already have a building you can convert into a small dairy setup, the investment won't be too bad. And remember, you can always start small. At minimum, you will need a milk cooler, a cheese kettle and a place to age the cheese. Now for milking, since your herd will be moved regularly, you'll need a portable milking setup. For this, I recommend using a cheap tractor trailer, a car trailer or simply just a pickup. On that trailer, you will install a portable milking machine. Ideally, you would fit around 8 milking racks onto it. I'm not going to go into detail on how to build this trailer in this video, but let me know in the comments if you'd want a full tutorial on that setup. So yes, you'll basically need a 3-meter trailer with a portable milking system mounted on it. Once you have that and your cheese making equipment ready, we can move on to grazing management. So let's say you just bought your first 60 goats. Depending on how much grazing land you secured, you'll split them into groups accordingly. The goal is simple. You want enough pasture for each group to graze about 3 days before rotating them. Why rotate every 3 days? Because when animals bite grass, the plant gets damaged and needs time to recover. If goats stay too long on the same pasture, they repeatedly bite the same plants before they recover, slowing regrowth significantly. In regenerative farming, 3 days is considered a very effective grazing period before rotation. For fencing, I recommend portable electric net fencing. It's easy to move and works very well for goats. You can power it with a solar panel, a car battery, and an electric fence energizer. This is one of the cheapest and most efficient systems. The only weakness of these fences is that the built-in posts are relatively weak, so for corners I recommend adding wooden or concrete posts for support. Another big benefit is that this type of fencing also helps keep predators like coyotes away. Your goats will also need water. There are many ways to solve this problem, but in my country, for example, it's very cheap to buy a used water tanker trailer and simply tow it from pasture to pasture. Whatever system you use, just remember, keep everything simple and time efficient. And there you have it. You'll ideally rotate goats every 3 days if you secure enough grazing land. You will need very little hay during winter, because goats are excellent browsers. They actually prefer bushes and shrubs over grass. Now the final question. How do you scale the herd to 130 goats? Simple. Goats reproduce very quickly. I'm joking when I say like rabbits, but honestly, if you keep most of the female offspring, you can realistically reach 130 milking goats within 2 to 3 years. Now, you may already be thinking about this. Around half the babies will be female and half male. The females you'll mostly keep for milking production or sell later if your herd becomes large enough. But what do you do with the males? Simple. Make goat jerky. It's a very high profit product. All you need is a food dehydrator or dryer, and you can find large ones for around 500 euros. Of course, you can also simply sell excess goats, but trust me, there is very good money in jerky. And if you want a full step-by-step tutorial on how to make it, let me know in the comments. And that's it! You now have a realistic system capable of generating around 60,000 per year or more. You can scale this business almost infinitely if done correctly. Farming is honestly one of the most underrated industries today. Your initial investment of around 30,000 euros or closer to 60,000 if you need to build a proper dairy facility could realistically pay itself back within 2 to 3 years if you start with a 60 goat herd. But that's a very strong risk to reward ratio if you ask me. And now, once your farm becomes profitable, I strongly suggest you slowly start buying the land you are grazing on. That's not just a farming advice, it's life advice. Land is becoming more valuable every year, so it's a win-win investment. If you're worried about selling all this produce, subscribe because I'll be covering marketing and selling strategies very soon on this channel. But that's all for today. I've shown you a farming system that really works, and I hope you'll find a way to adapt it to your own environment.